Noisy neighbours.
Sydney? Sydney, wake up.
Eh? What? What's the matter? Can't be 8 o'clock already.
No, it's 1:30. It's those people next door again. Listen.
Oh, yes. They must be having another party.
Listen to that. They must be waking up the whole street. And they've got 3 young children. They can't be sleeping through that noise. It's disgusting. Somebody should call the police. Sydney, wake up.
Yeah, I wasn't asleep, dear. They're all laughing. They must be having a good time. They never invite us, do they?
Sydney.
Yes, dear. What is it now?
Listen. They must be leaving.
Oh, thank goodness for that. Maybe we'll get some sleep.
I hope so. It's nearly 3 o'clock. Good night, dear.
Oh, hell, they're having a row now.
I'm not surprised. They always have rows after parties.
Oh, they must be throwing the pots and pans again.
No, I think that was a plate, dear. Or maybe the television. They'll be sorry in the morning. Sydney, wake up.
Oh, what's that?
Can't be hammering at this time of night.
What time is it?
4 o'clock. What can they be doing at 4 o'clock in the morning?
I can't hear any voices. Go back to sleep, Sybil.
Sydney, listen. There's someone in the garden next door.
It must be the milkman.
No, it can't be. It's too early. It's only 5:15. Who could it be? You'd better have a look.
All right. Oh, it's Mr. Sykes. And he's carrying a spade.
Oh, no. You don't think he's killed her, do you?
Well, we haven't heard her voice for a while. You know, she's probably sleeping.
But what can he be doing at this time of night?
If he has killed her, he might be burying the body.
What? You don't think so, do you?
Well, he can't be planting potatoes, can he? I suppose you'll want me to phone the police.
No. Ask him what he's doing first.
Hello there, Mr. Sykes. You're up early this morning?
I haven't been to bed yet. We had a party last night. Hope we didn't keep you awake.
Oh, no, we didn't hear anything. Nothing at all.
Well, it was a pretty noisy party. My wife knocked over the goldfish tank while we were clearing up. The poor fish died. I'm just burying them before the children wake up.
You're in the army now.
It's Saturday afternoon at Botherington Army Camp. The new recruits are supposed to be working, but they aren't. The colonel's away today, and they're lazing around in the barracks. The sergeant major has just opened the door. He's brought the duty roster with him, so he knows exactly what each of them should be doing.
Hello, what's going on here? Smith? What are you doing?
I'm listening to the radio, sir.
And what are you supposed to be doing, Smith?
I'm not sure, sir.
Well, let me tell you, Smith. You are supposed to be mowing the lawn.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir. It won't happen again, sir.
It had better not, Smith. And when I come back, Smith, you better be mowing that grass. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
This isn't a holiday camp. You're in the army, you know.
Migration.
One of the greatest mysteries of nature is the instinct to migrate. Every year, millions of creatures feel the need to move for one reason or another. Most of us have seen the arrival or departure of migrating flocks of birds. Migration, however, is not confined to birds, but can be seen in reptiles, for example, turtles, frogs, insects, butterflies, locusts, fish, eels, salmon, tunny, and mammals, reindeer, seals, lemmings, whales, bats. Many of these creatures succeed in navigating over long distances. How exactly they manage to do this still remains a mystery. There are several possibilities. They may navigate by using one or more of the following: the sun, the stars, the Earth's magnetic field. When a small bar magnet is attached to a pigeon, it is unable to navigate. A sense of smell. Geographical features. Birds flying from North Africa to France seem to follow coastlines and valleys. Changes in temperature. Salmon can detect a change in water temperature as small as 0.03 degrees centigrade. Sound. Whales and bats seem to use sonar. Experiments suggest that these navigational abilities are partly instinctive. In one famous experiment, a young seabird from the island of Stockholm off the Welsh coast was taken across the Atlantic by plane to Boston, 5,100 kilometers away. It was released and was back in its nest 12.5 days later. This seabird holds the record for long-distance migration. Arctic tern breed in northern Canada, Greenland, northern Europe, Siberia and Alaska. In late August they set off on a 17,500 kilometer journey which takes them south, past the west coasts of Europe and Africa to the tip of southern Africa, 14,000 kilometers in 90 days. They then fly round to the Indian Ocean and down to Antarctica, where they spend the Antarctic summer. On the way back, they sometimes make a complete circuit of Antarctica before returning to their breeding grounds. The round trip is over 35,000 kilometers in 8 months, 240 kilometers a day when they're flying. The Arctic tern sees more hours of daylight than any other creature because it experiences 2 summers a year, one in the Arctic region and one in the Antarctic. These regions have almost constant daylight in summer. One tern, which was ringed in Norway as a chick, died in exactly the same place 27 years later. Presumably, it had made the journey 27 times. European freshwater eels, which look like snakes but are really fish, begin and end their lives in the Sargasso Sea, southeast of Bermuda. As eggs and larvae, they drift for 3 years towards Europe, changing both shape and color as they reach the freshwater estuaries of European rivers. They spend the next 9 to 19 years in rivers, streams, lakes and ponds. As they approach old age, they seem to have an unexplained compulsion to return to the Sargasso Sea to breed. Many eels which have found their way into ponds and lakes come out of the water and travel overland, gliding through damp grass. When they reach the sea, they make their way to the Sargasso, where they breed and die. No eels make the journey twice. The eel has an acute sense of smell, which is used for navigation in local waters, but inherited memory seems the only explanation for their migration to the Sargasso. The brown lemming is a small mammal, 10 to 18 centimeters long, found all over northern Canada, Scandinavia, and northern Russia. Lemmings usually make short annual migrations in spring, traveling by night and feeding and sleeping by day. Every 3 or 4 years, however, they make much longer migrations in large numbers. The lemming population seems to change over a 3 or 4 year cycle, from 1 lemming per 4 hectares to between 400 and 700 lemmings per 4 hectares. Migration seems to be a method of population control, and is most spectacular in the well-known mass suicides, where thousands of lemmings plunge over cliff tops into the sea and swim till they die of exhaustion. These mass suicides only occur infrequently, and then only in Norway, where mountains touch the sea. Nobody knows what makes them do it, but there are 2 theories. One is that migrating lemmings cross rivers and lakes and can't tell the difference between a river and the sea. The other, more interesting theory is that they are migrating towards ancient breeding grounds, which existed beneath the North Sea millions of years ago, when the sea level was lower.
Murder at Gurney Manor. Lord Gurney was found dead on the library floor of his country house in Norfolk. He had been shot 5 times. The police have been called. There are 6 people in the house, and they all heard the shots at about 9 o'clock. The police have taken statements and made the following notes about each of the 6 people.
I was in my room. My bedroom's on the ground floor because I can't walk. I was reading. I heard the shots. There were 4 or 5. I wheeled myself into the hall. The door of the library was open. Miss Smart was standing in the doorway, screaming. Gillespie was standing at the French windows. The gun was on the floor by the body.
I was in the drawing-room, writing some letters, job applications, actually. I heard the shots, ran across the hall. The library door was open. Poor dear Horace was lying in a pool of blood. I started screaming. Gillespie came in through the French windows. They were opened. Then Lady Agatha arrived. She didn't say a word. She just stared at me.
I was in the billiard room. I was practicing. Suddenly there were 5 shots. I thought it was Chivers shooting birds in the garden again. Then I heard a scream. It sounded like Celia, so I opened the connecting door to the library and saw Father lying there, Gillespie at the window, and Celia and Mother together in the main doorway. I couldn't believe my eyes.
I was by the lake fishing in my usual place. When I heard the shots, I hurried through the trees towards the house. I saw Gillespie running across the lawn towards the library. When I got there, everybody was in the room except Tom Giles, the gardener. Poor old Kearney was dead. I was absolutely sure he was dead. After all, I was in the army for 20 years.
I was taking my evening walk. I had just come out of the kitchen door. I was walking round the corner of the house when I heard shooting. I ran across the lawn to the French windows. I saw Lord Gurney's body and Miss Smart in the doorway.
I was working in the kitchen garden. I heard shots, but that's not unusual around here. Lord Gurney and the Major are very fond of shooting. And I heard lots of screaming and shouting, so I went into the house through the kitchen door to see what was happening. And they were all there. I wasn't sorry. He deserved it. Everybody hated him.
Murder at Gurney Manor, Part 2. Inspector Marples is in charge of the case. Sergeant Watts is his assistant. They're in the library.
Where is everybody, Sergeant?
They're all in the drawing room, sir. Constable Dixon's with them. What do you think, sir?
It could have been any one of them, couldn't it? We don't know what skeletons are in the cupboard. May have been 2 of them together. Might even have been all of them. Nobody seems very sad.
No, sir. Lord Gurney was a very unpopular man in the village. Nobody liked him. It could have been an outsider.
No, Watts. It must have been one of them. Let's look at the evidence.
It seems to me that everybody has got a motive, sir, and nobody's got an alibi. They all say they were alone when it happened.
Yes, and there are no fingerprints on the gun.
It couldn't have been her, sir.
Why not, Watts?
Well, she's in a wheelchair. She can't move very fast. Anyway, they've been married for 35 years. Can't have been her.
Most murders are inside the family, Watts, and there is a door between her room and the library.
Oh, yes, sir. But it was locked.
Doors have keys, Watts.
But why would she want to kill him?
Miss Smart's a very attractive young woman. We don't know what was going on. She could have been jealous.
But, sir, he was over 60. He was old enough to be her father.
Ah, well, Watts, he was a good-looking man and very rich. What about the Major, Watts? He's a strange fellow.
I've been thinking about that. It can't have been him, sir.
Really? Why not?
Why would he need to fire 5 times? He was an army pistol champion. He could have killed him with 1 shot.
Maybe he did, Watts. Maybe he did.
I don't understand, sir.
There are a lot of things you don't understand, Watts.
Perhaps he's more clever than he looks.
But there's no motive, sir.
There may have been. I mean, there was that scandal with the property company.
But he was at the lake, sir.
He might not have been once. He's a pistol champion. He could have shot him from the trees and thrown the gun into the room.
Oh. Do you really think so, sir?
I don't know, Watts. It's just a theory.
Making a complaint.
Good morning, miss. I'd like to speak to the manager.
I am the manager, sir. How can I help you?
Oh, really? It's this radio. It doesn't work.
Did you buy it here?
Pardon? Of course I bought it here. Look, you switch it on, and nothing happens.
Could I see your receipt?
Receipt? I haven't got one.
Oh, you should have obtained a receipt when you bought it.
I probably did. I must have thrown it away.
Ah, well, have you got any other proof of purchase? The guarantee, for example.
No, it must have been in the box. I threw that away, too.
Oh, dear. You really ought to have kept it. We need to know the exact date of purchase.
What? I only bought it yesterday. That young man over there served me. Oh, I paid by cheque. I've got the cheque stub.
That's all right, then. Did you check the radio before you left the shop?
Check it? No, it was in the box. I expected it to work. It wasn't a cheap radio. It's a good make.
You should have checked it.
Come on, stop telling me what I should have done and do something. Either give me my money back or give me another radio.
There's no need to get aggressive, sir. Let me look at it. You see this little switch on the back?
Yes.
It's on mains, and it should be on battery. You really should have read the instructions.
Oh.
The Mary Celeste. Part 1. The Mary Celeste was built in 1861 in Nova Scotia, Canada, as a cargo-carrying sailing ship. When it was launched, it was given the name the Amazon. It was not a lucky ship. The first captain died a few days after it was registered, and on its first voyage in 1862, it was badly damaged in a collision. While it was being repaired in port, it caught fire. In 1863, it crossed the Atlantic for the first time, and in the English Channel, it collided with another ship, which sank. The Amazon was badly damaged itself. 4 years later, in 1867, it ran aground on Cape Breton Island off the Canadian coast. The ship was almost completely wrecked and had to be rebuilt. It was then sold, and the name was changed to the Mary Celeste. Sailors are very superstitious and dislike sailing on ships which have been unlucky or which have changed their names. Many sailors refuse to sail on the Mary Celeste. On November the 5th, 1872, the Mary Celeste left New York carrying a cargo of commercial alcohol to Genoa in Italy. There were 11 people on board: Captain Briggs, his wife and 2-year-old daughter, and a crew of 8. Briggs was an experienced captain and a very religious man. In his cabin there was a harmonium which was used for playing hymns. A month later, the Mary Celeste was seen by another ship, the Dei Grazia, about halfway between the Azores and the Portuguese coast. Captain Morehouse of the Dei Grazia, a friend of Captain Briggs, noticed that the ship was sailing strangely. When the Mary Celeste did not answer his signal, he decided to investigate. He sent a small boat to find out what was wrong. The Mary Celeste was completely deserted. The only lifeboat was missing. All the sails were up and in good condition. All the cargo was there. The ship had obviously been through storms. The glass on the compass was broken. The windows of the deck cabins had been covered with wooden planks. There was a meter of water in the cargo hold, which was not enough to be dangerous. The water pumps were working perfectly. There was enough food for 6 months and plenty of fresh water. All the crew's personal possessions, clothes, boots, pipes and tobacco, etc., were on board. There were toys on the captain's bed. There was food and drink on the cabin table. Only the navigation instruments and ship's papers were missing. The last entry in the ship's logbook had been made 11 days earlier, 1,000 kilometres west, but the ship had continued in a straight line. The forehatch was found open. There were 2 deep marks on the bows near the waterline. There was a deep cut on the ship's rail made by an axe. There were old brown blood stains on the deck and on the captain's sword, which was in the cabin. Captain Morehouse put some sailors on the Mary Celeste, who sailed it to Portugal. There was a long official investigation, but the story of what had happened on the ship and what had happened to the crew still remains a mystery. Captain Morehouse and his crew were given the salvage money for bringing the ship to port. Many explanations have been suggested, but none of them have ever been proved. The Mary Celeste, Part 2.
I don't know what happened, but it must have happened suddenly.
Why do you think that?
Think about it. There were toys on the captain's bed, weren't there? The child must have been playing, and they must have interrupted her suddenly.
Yes, that's true. And the food was on the table. They must have been eating, or getting ready to eat.
I'll tell you my theory. The lifeboat was missing, right? They could have been practicing their emergency drill. They must have got into the boat and launched it.
All right. But what happened to the boat?
They may have been rowing the lifeboat round the ship, and there must have been a gust of wind. Then the ship could have moved forward and run down the lifeboat. That explains the marks on the bows.
Come on. They can't all have been sitting in the lifeboat. What about the captain? He should have been steering the ship.
He might have been watching the drill and jumped in to save the others.